Good day, everyone. How are you on this wonderful day? This is Power Hour Coaching, and I'm Bernadette Boas with Ball of Fire Coaching. And we do this each and every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, giving you, your busy, stressed out, or powerhouse leaders an opportunity to get any of your questions or challenges addressed and really understand how coaching can benefit you. So if you have any question or you're dealing with a challenge like I have for today, then feel free to drop it in the comment section wherever you're watching this, because we are streaming across multiple platforms, including LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And at the same time, like these, some of you have a question or a situation, but you're not necessarily wanting to put it out on a social platform. So the majority of mine come through LinkedIn DMs. So if you're not linked in with me, be sure to do that. Let me put that up here real quick. Be sure to do that and then send me whatever it is that you want to talk about and get some help on. Send it through a DM to me. All right. And I'll get with you directly, but at the same time, I will bring it here and anonymously address it. Like we have the two things we're going to talk about today. All right. Okay. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to have a conversation about how do you know it's time to leave your job? Anybody have that situation going on? I certainly did a good number of years ago. And then the other one is, I have an idea for a new collaboration tool that would definitely improve how our team works together. How can I present it to my boss and then even be appointed as the lead? So I'll read it specifically as we get to it. But those are the two we have so far. And again, I'll be keeping an eye across the platforms in case you have a question or a situation you want to talk about. If you want to join me in studio live, then at the same time, hit me a comment up that says, hey, I'd love to come in the studio, or just say studio. And it'll come to me, and then I'll send you a link to come and join me, and we will have a conversation and a coach, almost like a coaching session right here, if you wanted to do that as well. But at the same time, don't ever feel pressured that you have to kind of disclose maybe the situation you're dealing with. You can always send me a DM on LinkedIn. Okay. All right. So if you want to learn more about me, because I really want this to be about you, you can always go to balloffirecoaching.com. And I do have a quick announcement in regards to that. You are going to see a brand new Ball of Fire Coaching website coming very shortly, as well as our Shedding the Bitch podcast. So stay tuned for those announcements. I'm very excited. I hope you are too. All right. So let's get into this first question. How do you know when it's time to leave your job? And like I mentioned, I went through this probably back in 2006 and 7, before actually I was booted in late 2007. And I understand maybe the frustration, the stress, the turmoil you might be going through. Because especially as people are looking around, and this individual was concerned as well, with the climate out there when it comes to job hunting, and with the future issues that many are talking about right now. It's stressful trying to kind of figure this out, and yet at the same time really address the fact that in this case, the description is miserable. Now, one thing I want to share is, don't think about the future. What might happen, whether it's with the world, with the economy, more closer to home. Don't worry about that. Take care of yourself right here and now. All right. And that's the real message that I gave this individual, because she is extremely stressed and just not sure of what to do. So, there's a lot of reasons people are unhappy. So the first question that I asked is, what has provoked you to even ask yourself this question and start evaluating this? And like I said, she mentioned that she's just miserable. Some people might just say unhappy. Some people might feel as if they're not being utilized, all their skills are not being utilized, that the job. And, a longtime client of mine found themselves in this situation where the new job that they took on, it didn't match the job description at all. And the next thing you know, 6 months, 9 months in, they're finding themselves not only lost as far as the job itself, but also very confused and disenchanted because of the fact that they were kind of sold on one job, and the next thing you know, it's a whole different type of job. Now, some people start thinking about, leaving their job because they might not have a really good relationship with their team members or their boss. Maybe there's something about the company that all of a sudden is, kind of causing them to question and think twice. Sometimes it could be a toxic environment, let alone that you don't get along with the boss or the company, but more so that it's almost a bullying, toxic type of environment. And again, not only did I have those environments, probably twice throughout my career, but I was guilty of creating a similar toxic type of environment. And if you want to learn more about my story, you can always go to 𝐦𝐨𝐴𝐶oaching.com. But so I know all about these. It also could be as simple as the fact that you're not being challenged, not just being underutilized, but there's no opportunities for growth. So you don't see a path for you with this particular job. And then my next question would be, but do you see it with the company, even though it might not be in kind of the line of the business, the team that you're in, but it could be with the company. So you want to look at all of that. You don't want to go jumping ship just because, the path that it maybe is being painted for you doesn't look like it has a good horizon. And a good many of you, especially over the last several years, the Great Resignation, as they call it, you're just finding that whatever you're doing right now is just not fulfilling you anymore. You just don't have an interest in it anymore. And again, I went from just being absolutely enthralled and in love with retail as I was in the stores, as I was a buyer, as I became a merchant. But then I really saw an opportunity to expand my skill set and went into technology, retail technology. And then I found that I, kind of flourished and loved all of that and whatnot. And then I just got kind of bored and dismayed with that. And then the next thing you know, I'm on my own and I'm doing, work that had nothing to do with what I did for the first 25 years of my career. So many of you are also just simply saying, I'm just no longer interested in what it is that I'm doing, and I would love to go and pursue something else. So there's a great many reasons why someone might be considering leaving their job. And so what I would want you to do in that case is I really want you to assess first. So your first tip regarding this is really first assess where is the issue coming from? Is it coming from the job itself? And if so, why? Just list out all the reasons and don't think about it. I like to always say that truth sits on the surface, and therefore your truth won't take a lot of digging to figure it out. Okay. So don't avoid the truth because you don't want to acknowledge it. And a lot of you will actually act out in that way. You know the answer. and I do this myself more so in my personal life and my business life, but the answer, you just don't want to hear it or acknowledge it because it might mean something that doesn't feel comfortable. And so you just keep pushing it down. And then, that'll work for a while, but trust me when I say just very, very close to where this woman is, it will explode on you. It will. And it did me multiple times, but it will. So as opposed to getting to that point, especially, I love the fact that she came and started working on this proactively, and you can too. It's just kind of ask yourself, okay, where is this question mark coming from? Is it coming from the job? Is it coming from the company? Is it coming from the team or the boss creating something that, you might not be real happy with. Is it coming from you? So some of those examples that I gave in regards to the fact that you just might want something different and something new, well, that's okay. So just assess, where is it that this issue and this question mark around whether or not it's time to leave your job, where is it coming from? And once you have a good idea of that, you can look at all of that and say, okay, are there things that I can be changing and I could be doing differently in order to make these situations better? So if it is maybe the job itself, okay, maybe you are being underutilized, maybe you are bored, maybe you just aren't being valued, listened to, recognized. What is it? And this is where I spend a great deal of my coaching. Where is it that you can make changes and shifts? Do you need to go and ask for different responsibilities or more responsibilities? Do you need to go and seek out new initiatives, new projects, new opportunities for yourself? Do you need to go and, kind of be transparent and open with your team members or your boss and talk through what is it that you need to be happier and more fulfilled and therefore be a better contributor on the job? So don't assume just because you're having this angst and this question mark coming up that it's a done deal and you need to move on. It could be something that you need to deal with yourself. And I'll give you a perfect example. I ran into a situation in my life, in my career, where I had a change in boss. And I definitely did not have a good relationship with this new individual, this new boss. And from this get-go, even before, I just knew that it was going to be tumultuous. And therefore, as opposed to addressing it and proactively addressing it, I let it just seep within me and just kind of rule kind of my attitude and the way I went about then working and engaging with this individual. And it made for a very miserable experience for myself, and I'm sure for him. And you don't want to necessarily get there unless you're already there for other reasons than like the example I gave. But so really just be open-minded and considerate to the fact that, yeah, something's going on, but yet it's not the end of the world, and it may not be the end of anything. I just need to work through it and figure it out. So then you go and you look at, okay, it is the job. I need to go figure out if there, like I said, new responsibilities, new initiatives, new projects, new things you could be doing. It could be the people. And what is it about the people? Is it just that they're different than you? And are you doing everything in your power to, kind of relate and connect and build a relationship with these individuals? If there is kind of a toxic, kind of just hard, stressful, set of relationships or an individual relationship, what are you doing to address it yourself for it to be more productive and more effective and to make your job and your day at work more enjoyable? Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, boy, everything's being put on me. Like I need to figure all this stuff out. And you do. Yes. If there is the culture, the company, the climate, the people that are creating this junk, well, you're not going to change them. All right. And this was something I thought for a long time. You're not going to change them. All you can do is change yourself. You can't control them. All you can do is control yourself. So look at this assessment very openly, very considerately, intentionally, and just figure out, okay, I want the job. I want the income. I want to work with this company. I just need to figure out what is causing me to question and doubt. All right. And work on it. Like do the assessment, but actually then take action and give yourself 30 days, 60 days, 90 days to see if there's any change in it. Again, we do have those things swell up in us when we all of a sudden decide or kind of get an inclination that we're not happy. or things aren't going the way you wanted them to go, but you just don't want to kind of shut the door on them. You want to really evaluate and assess them, and even work to shift them before you just kind of, explode your life and change everything around you, because it may not be necessary. Now, if you find that through that assessment, it is necessary, and you find yourself that, you did that assessment, you've tried to make changes, and you're just still very unhappy, not fulfilled, so forth and so on, then go and start looking for a job or roles and positions in companies that are more aligned to what it is that you really want. All right. Even if you're a little bit questioning, what exactly that you want on the next opportunity, but at least give yourself a chance to kind of look to see if it's greener on the other side. Okay. If it's rosier elsewhere, because again, sometimes it's not necessarily. So go and start doing that research, looking at job descriptions, looking at postings, looking at company cultures, so even going on interviews and going on conversations with other people. You can't, Alex, you can't change them. You can change yourself. Yes, Alex. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Exactly. So why even spend time exhausting yourself thinking that you're going to change somebody else? And this comes to relationships too, personal relationships too. Stop thinking you're going to change somebody else. It's not going to happen, and you're just going to be miserable. So, all right. So assess, and then go and start looking at, other roles, other positions, other companies, other cultures, so forth and so on. And again, assess whether or not it actually is greener on the other side before you jump ship. Now, sometimes, and it wasn't this individual, but of course, over the years of coaching for every reason, including this question of transitioning, sometimes it is the fact that, I'm at a certain age and I'm at a certain status and I'm ready to just do something totally different, follow my passions, that have nothing to do with the work that I'm doing now. So for instance, if you had told me that my corporate career would not only lead to entrepreneurship, that was probably a given. It was my father's path. But if you told me that my entrepreneurship would go from doing what I did best in the 25 years of corporate, and that was consulting and a good amount of coaching. But had you told me that I would then write a book, write a screenplay, do podcasts and video casts and things like this, I would have told you were nuts. I would have absolutely told you were nuts. And now I've been doing it for 14 years. So, and I was far from an age, I'm 60 now. I was far from an age where I was like, I'm now ready to go and follow my passions. But some individuals are at 40, 45, 50. And God love you. So, if you are at that point, then you aren't necessarily going to be looking for, another job or a company or a culture. You're going to start looking at what are those passions that I have that I want to follow? And what does it look like as far as how do I do it? Is it going to be on my own as an entrepreneur, or is it going to be that I just totally change the type of companies that I'm going toward? All right. Now, the third step. So the first would be assess the job, the people, the company, the culture, and what your role is in kind of considering the fact that you're ready to leave your job. Then secondly, just start doing research as far as what is it that you really want. I always work with my clients and have them answer 3 questions. Who are you? What do you want? And what do you don't want? So many people don't look at that when they go and, kind of consider whether it's work or relationships or money or life as a whole. So that, if you want to start anywhere, ask yourself, who am I? Who am I really? Not like, I'm Bernadette Boas. I'm the CEO of Ball of Fire Coaching. I'm an executive coach. No. Who are you? What do you stand for? I am a ball of fire when it comes to, just living. whether it's work, whether it's life, or my clients, whatever the case might be. But who are you? And then what do you want out of life and work? And what do you not want? Okay. So when you're assessing yourself, and then you move on to doing research to figure out, okay, what might I want to do, next, that will make me more, fulfilled, happier, so forth and so on. The third thing would be start looking before you jump ship. It is easier to find a job when you have a job than it is when you don't have a job. So plus you don't want to lose that security blanket of having an income. All right. Especially if you're one of those that, are in your head about the future, tomorrow, next week, next year. And therefore that'll just add additional stress if there's a week, a month, a year that you go without a job because you jump ship. So look for a job while you have a job. All right. And then lastly, although I made it sound as if, okay, you've decided you're moving on. These are the steps you're going to take. I want to go back to the fact that, okay, in your assessment, you might have found that, okay, wait a minute. There are things that if they were different, then I could be happy here. I could be happy in this job. I could be happy in this company. I could be happy in this culture with this team, whatever the case might be, and overall in your life. So be sure that as you did that assessment and you've done the research and then you've, maybe looked at other positions, but if you are kind of working your way back to, what, this is the best company to be at. This is a decent job. And, maybe it's not the perfect job, but then I need to take control of my, take control of my path. And even though, the company says it's X, I might want to design it to be, Y. And then go and construct something, outline what is it that's going to make you happy in the job that you have. And then go have conversations about it. Have conversations with your teammates, just to ask them for input, or peers. Go and talk to your boss about it. Go and talk to HR about it. Get some, counseling from them, guidance from them, especially if there's any way that that you're valued. Let me take that back, because you may not feel like you're valued, and that's one reason why you're looking. But if you know that you are a high producing individual, whether it's recognized or not, then and the company does not want to lose you, then you owe it to yourself, but you owe it to them as well, to give them an opportunity to help you figure out what it will take to make you happy. Because it costs more money for that company to then hire someone else and train them in the job that you're already in than it is for you to take on more responsibility, for you to take on more skills, start a new initiative, get a promotion, get a bonus, whatever the case might be. It'll be more expensive for them to go through all of that from a new hire perspective than it is to work on making you happy. All right. I know a lot of people are sitting there going, oh, Bernadette, companies don't care. If you are a valued customer, especially nowadays, I mean, it is so hard to find good people. So don't, don't write it off. Engage those around you at your job to help you find that place, that you fit best in, or to solve that relationship issue, or whatever the case might be. So those are the 4 tips I would have for you, as well as I did for her. Assess where this question of wanting to, whether it's time to leave your job. Start looking and doing research and assessing whether or not, it's greener on the other side. If it looks greener on the other side, then look for a job. But look for a job while you have your job. And then if through all of that, you're still like, oh my gosh, actually it's, better here. And I have to figure out then what changes and, I need to make and I need to ask for in order to make this the best place where I can really contribute and be happy and fulfilled. All right. So those would be the first 4 of that first question. How do you know it's time to leave your job? All right. Our next question, and again, if you have any, you can drop them in any one of the comment sections across the platforms where we are where we are appearing right now. If you have a question or a situation and you're watching this on replay, still post or still go and link in with me and then send me a DM. Because just because we're here live doesn't mean, at 2:01 Eastern time, you can't get the support and help that you need. All right. You just need to either leave a question or a comment in wherever you're seeing this streaming, or reach out to me on LinkedIn, send me a DM, and I will be more than happy to reach out. Now, if you know that, well, I really need kind of more support, more conversation, collaboration with me, then feel free to also schedule some time with me. I provide a 30-minute free coaching session, just so you can get the support that you need. It's not a sales presentation in any way, shape, or form. It's merely to give you the opportunity to get whatever questions you have answered, and or whatever challenge you're having, get it solved, and or at least with some tips and advice and some next steps. Okay. All right. So we'll move on to our second question. Excuse me. You didn't see that, did you? Okay, we'll move on to our second question. I have an idea for a new collaboration tool that would definitely improve how our team works together. How can I present it to my boss so I'm the one to head it up? Great question. Great question. Great question. Great question. And now, as a coach, a core job of a coach is not to just take the words, at face value. To really dig in, almost like the first question, to really dig in and really understand, kind of all the angles of which this question or situation is being asked. So what I mean by that is, I would be breaking this in this conversation I had with him. I'd be breaking this down into two parts. One is the fact that he has a new idea and he wants to present it in such a, and present it to his boss. So how do I go about doing that? The second part is, so I lead it up. All right. So we're going to, get into both of those aspects, because both of those are key. So to first address how do I present an idea to my boss or to someone in such a way that they buy in on it, and they move forward with it, and they invest in it. So basically, you are putting together a business case. You're putting together a business case as to why anyone should take on and invest in something that you're presenting, or anybody else is. And this is applied in so many areas. It's applied at work on a daily basis as initiatives are being initiatives are being thrown out there, and they're trying to figure out which initiative they should take on or shouldn't take on, invest in, not invest in. It applies to when you are looking for investment money, and you need to present to some potential money people that your idea is a great idea to be funded. It could be when you're submitting a book to be published. This can be applied to so many scenarios, not just kind of a corporate environment where someone wants to present an idea. So that the first part of this question is very much just a business case. So what's a business case? And a lot of times, the first thing I get from someone that I mention this to, like him, is, oh my God, like they think business cases are like these very involved type of presentations or proposals, or actually a business plan. And that's not what I'm suggesting. I'm simply suggesting that you put together some components of the reasoning as to why this idea is good, and why they should invest in it. So the first thing, very simply, what is the problem? So you might create a PowerPoint presentation, or you might put it in a Word document, But the categories you really want to be addressing is, so what is the problem that you've identified in your business that, that you then are going to propose a solution to? So in this case, it's obviously the problem is, a lack of effective, productive communication or collaboration across teams. So that's the problem. Now, what is the impact of that problem? So what is the negative impact of not having a good means of collaborating and engaging with team members? Well, there could be a whole slew of them. So you just list out both the quantifiable and the qualifiable. So quantifiable is literally if you can quantify the amount of minutes, the amount of hours of the lack of communication that then causes delays, causes risks, causes issues, of which then you can quantify based on either the value of the team, an average hourly rate based on the minutes or the hours of delay, so forth and so on. All right. So, and then the qualifiable are more like frustration from the team, duplicate work, which you can also quantify, and stress. So there's qualifiable and quantifiable impacts that this problem is having on the business. So then, okay, so what's your solution? Well, the solution is this new, latest, and greatest collaboration tool, X, Y, and Z. And so it gets a little bit more involved here, but so then you say, okay, so what is the value or the benefit contribution that if we were to invest in this tool, then what can we expect in return? So it's a return on investment. And it's, again, quantifiable and qualifiable. Now, the quantifiable here is going to be important because what they're going to do is they're going to say, if it costs me 100, I need to get more than 100 back in savings. Okay. So what is the value, the benefits, and the quantifiable and qualifiable? Sane employees, happy employees, productive teams. So those are the qualifiable. So you put that together. Now, in this part of it and in the solution part of it, I'm trying to think because this can be placed in multiple places. But so why this tool versus the other tools that are out there, especially if the other tools are less expensive? So if but that could be a next step. So we're just going to stick with, and focus here as I did with him on this one tool. So problem, impact, solution, the value and the benefit, quantifiable and qualifiable, and then the cost. So how much is this going to cost me? Do not present it if you don't know it. Do not present this idea unless you've done your homework and you know it. Because you don't want to necessarily be like, all of a sudden he or she says, so what's it going to cost us? And you're like, I don't know. I haven't gotten that far. Well, then it's not a fully baked out idea. Do your homework. All right. So understand what the cost is. Now, of course, it's only going to be an estimate. You might, see online, or you might pick up the phone, especially if it's a corporate initiative. You might pick up the phone and have a conversation. Hey, we have this many employees, blah, 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 blah. You see, all of a sudden learn what the, license, per individual is, per employee is, and you can kind of come up with a rough idea. But again, you're a boss and others are going to understand that this is kind of a rough estimate, and it's just showing that you've done your homework. Okay. And then what do you propose to be next steps? So obviously, again, this is almost like someone goes and makes, a complaint or raises up a problem or an issue or a risk, but then doesn't have the solution to it or doesn't have the recommended next steps to go and solve it. They might have the solution, but they're like, okay, this is the solution. Go and take care of it yourself. If especially at the second part of this question from him is all about him leading it up. That's even going to be more and more critical that you do all your homework and you dot all the I's and cross all the T's and present a full package. Okay. So propose next steps. And then, you may raise up, even in the document itself, you may raise up who the best person is to lead it. And if that's you, that's you. Okay. So you might even, and that, because that could be part of the proposed next steps is, I am willing to take this on. I probably, and I'm asked this not as often now as I did maybe 5 years ago, but I probably fired myself out of 3 or 4 core jobs because I found another problem. It's how I went from being a merchant in retail to going into technology. Is as a buyer, I found that these reports that we were getting were just too difficult. And this was before 2000, were too difficult for any of the buyers to really effectively use. So I went to the CEO and I presented a business case and basically said, this is what we need. This is how we, the problem that it's causing, the benefit that if we solved it, so forth and so on, everything that we're talking about. And I probably did that, like I said, I think 3 or 4 times, and was put in that position to take on that initiative that I presented and proposed. And I can't guarantee that's going to happen to you, but at the same time, there's no reason, that you can't present that you'd be the best person. But that comes to my second part of this conversation I had with him, and that I would want you to consider. Are you the best person? And why? Because you're going to have to answer that. But you also want to be true to the fact that if this initiative is taken on, this investment is made, that the best person is heading it up. And sometimes there are people that create great ideas and great solutions, but they're not the people to head it up. All right. Because that's a whole nother conversation that we won't have here, though I had it with him, about just what it does it take to take on this type of initiative. Now, he has had the multiple actually program management, let alone project management experience. So that wasn't in question. But a lot of people that are creators out there, inventors out there, are not the people that should go and actually execute and implement it. So you definitely would want to be asking yourself that question: is, as much as you want to take it on, because maybe it'll give you more visibility, it'll give you more influence, maybe a bonus and a promotion, but truly, because you don't want to set yourself up or the company up to fail. Plain and simple. So just be very kind of honest to yourself if indeed you are the best person, or if you're not, because this has happened, a number of times to multiple clients of mine. If you're not, then you can make a proposal of who best would be the one to head it up, and that would be part of your business case. Okay, so that is kind of simply what someone could be doing in regards to, having an idea, wanting to present it because it would solve a great problem that the company is having or your team is having. And then, kind of making the case for why they should invest in it. And again, you want all your I's dotted and T's crossed, because to be taken seriously, you need to think through all of it. From the problem to the impact that it's having to the business, to the solution, to the value and the return on investment that they're going to get as a result of solving this problem, the cost of or the investment. I like to look at it as an investment that they'd be making into taking on this initiative, and then your proposed next steps. That's not a project plan. It's just, okay, what are the big next steps we need, including, boss, will you take this on to then present it to whomever else to get it approved? And it's a very, very viable approach. And I actually coach a good number of my clients, especially those advancing, to kind of seek out these breaks in the business that they can then be presenting a solution to. It just shows initiative. It shows entrepreneurship. That was a term I was using 15, 16, 18 years ago. Very much like an entrepreneur, but it's intrapreneur because it's within a company. Okay. And again, consider, are you the best person or not? All right. Let's see. Do we have any other comments or questions out there? There's no questions coming in. So again, we do this every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. If you should ever have a question or a challenge, whether we're live and or post our broadcast, then be sure to link in with me and send it to me through a DM on LinkedIn. It's the best way to get a hold of me. You can always go to balloffirecoaching.com as well and reach out through our contact page. And we are going to have a new website very soon. I'm actually hoping that we can go live with it this weekend. So it would be there. But at the same time, if you're like, well, Bernadette, I appreciate it, what you've said, not only on this episode, but you can also go and look for our other Power Hour coaching sessions. Just scroll through your YouTube channel, LinkedIn, or Facebook page. It's Shift to Riches Today on Facebook. It's Shift to Riches Today on YouTube. And then, of course, on LinkedIn, Bernadette Boas. But if you want to have more, deeper one-on-one conversation, then feel free to schedule a 30-minute complimentary coaching session and let me help you in any way that I can. All right. And until then, note that Tuesdays at noon Eastern time is our Shedding the Bitch podcast and video cast. And this coming week, we have Emma Clayton, who's going to be talking about changing the shape of corporate. It's a great and appropriate conversation based on today's questions. But check that out on blogtalkradio.com or on our Shedding the Bitch TV channel on YouTube at noon Eastern time on Tuesday. All right. And until next Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern time, I will see you. Have a great, prosperous, and powerful week. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.